oftentimes Buffett gets criticized because people don't see why he makes the purchases. When he bought Burlington Northern Santa Fe, BNSF Railroad, people said, oh my gosh, you're buying old iron, an old methodology for transportation, a bad choice. And everyone dumped in on him, all the critics and the analysts and etc. And his answer is he just kept moving along. Lo and behold, 18 months later, it comes back that, wow, look at all the profits coming out of BNSF. And look at all the transportation of all the items that are out there as the gas price goes up. And one analyst comes back and says, well, he just got lucky. Possible. I don't know, I guess you could just be lucky to be the second richest man on the planet. Or possibly you're just looking at things a little differently than everybody else does. So how do you put that mindset to work? How will you understand those numbers different than everyone else will? Well, first and foremost, be the expert. You could be broad. You could know a lot about a little, and that would be like looking at the ocean. But the question is do you have an ability to look deeply, richly, and be the authority in a market space, your market space, and more importantly, the market space of your buyers, the customers that you'd like to work with? Because it's interesting right now, what's most valued out there in the sales process is for people to be an expert in the customer's business, not just an expert in their own business. And because they need to be an expert in that customer's business, they have to drill richly. It's funny, one of the things that Buffett was asked when people come to him and say, you know, what's your secret? What's your technique? When he speaks at universities. And he comes back with one of those simple, make sense ideas and answers. Research, research, research. He spends more than 90% of his day reading. He says, and I read everything about a market or an interest that a market or an industry that I'm interested in. Most of us skim across the top, and that's why he's where he is. But he's left some breadcrumbs for us to follow to get to the next level. Second thing, look past the numbers to the underlying market intrinsic value. It's funny, Buffett made an acquisition in which he paid a premium of 75% over book on one of the companies he was looking for out there. And everyone said that he was crazy. Over the course of 10 years, that business, he'd paid he'd spent 75% above book, had made over $1 billion in profits that it kicked back to his business because he looked at the operating principles. He thought not like a trader, not like an investor, he thought like an owner. If I was to own this business, what would it be like? When he bought Nebraska Furniture Mart from Mrs. B, who was the owner of Nebraska Furniture Mart, when he bought that business from her, he bought it for $55 million. And when they came back later on and did an inventory of the business, because he just made the offer and she said yes, they found that there was $85 million in inventory. There was more in inventory than the price that he had paid for the business. But that was all right, because as she said to him when he bought the business, she said, you bought an oil well. You didn't buy a piece of land. And that's what one's looking for, an owner who sells to a client that will produce revenue for them for years and years and years, is the idea and the opportunity to buy an oil well, not to buy a piece of land. And the third thing is that if you're going to do the land or the oil well, make certain that you've done all the investigation, all the homework, and all the research to understand what you're really getting into.